Hey, friend, welcome back to the Anchored with Purpose podcast. I'm so glad you're here today because this episode is one I truly believe can help you change the way you step into the new year. So, before we talk about goal setting, before we talk about vision boards, and you know I love a good vision board, before we talk about planners or even our word of the year for next year, or whatever else comes next, we have to pause because today we're talking about completing a year in review, or what I like to call a life evaluation. And I'll be honest with you, I just did this for myself. I started it I started it yesterday, and I did a little bit more this morning during my prayer and reflection time. I sat down with my planner, a cup of tea, and flipped through my planner and started reflecting on the past year. And friend, I have to tell you, it felt so good. I really wanted to take this time, like not rushed and like sitting in a coffee shop and doing this, but that didn't happen. I wanted to get this done in time to record this episode for you, but it just felt so great reflecting on everything from the year. So let's dive in and I'll tell you how you can do this too. Before we talk about how to do a year in review or a life evaluation, let's talk about why it matters. So here's the truth. So many women want to just jump straight into the new year, setting goals for the new year without reflecting on what they actually lived. And one of my favorite mentors, Rick Warren, says this: if you don't know where you are, you'll never know how to get where you're going. And this, my friend, is exactly why a year in review matters. It gives us clarity when we reflect on what happened over the past year. It gives us context, and it helps us see the bigger picture of what God has been doing in our lives, even when we might not even realize it in the moment. And God tells us to reflect through scripture. Ecclesiastes 3:1 says, "For everything there is a season, and a time for every matter under heaven." Reflection helps us honor the season we're living and leaving instead of rushing past it. And I love this one from Psalm 77:11-12. I will remember the deeds of the Lord. Yes, I will remember your wonders of old. I will ponder all your work and meditate on your mighty deeds. So this is where God invites us to remember what happened in the past year. And I'll tell you, when you start writing it down, it does really help you reflect on, okay, how far did I come this year? How far do I have to go? What was happening this season? It opens up all of that. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about my personal year in review. So, I'll share again, I shared with you that I had envisioned me doing this in a coffee shop with like a fun latte and headphones in and like great music. But that's just, I'm in this season where it wasn't an opportunity for me, and that's okay. But I want to share with you how this life evaluation and year in review was so different from one that I had a few years ago. Now, last year on the podcast, I talked about completing one of these, and it was from a little bit of a different perspective. One of the life evaluations I did during a time when I was really struggling, when I really felt like the Holy Spirit was stirring something within me. It was a time where I went to write down all of like everything that I'm going to share with you, like from these different, like what went well, where were my struggles, all of that, what goals did I accomplish? And I realized then that I only achieved one goal. And like I didn't have much else to write down in other areas of my life except for work. I was killing it at work, but I didn't have much balance in other areas of my life. Now, sitting here and working on this over the past couple of days, what felt so good is that it's a little more balanced. Now, I'm going to have a link in the show notes for this, but I made you a guide to help you do this. It's exactly what I use. And there are some different pages in here to help you with some different things. One of the pages is a wheel of life. And this is where you can color in kind of how you felt as far as how in balance or out of balance you felt for the way the year went. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see I haven't colored this in yet because this is still a work in progress for me. I still want to continue reviewing really through the rest of the year. So this is just a start for me. But let's talk about kind of how that personal year in review went. So, there's two different things that I did. So, first, well, they kind of both happened simultaneously. As I thought of something, I wrote it down, but I'm going to share with you how I did this because I did it a little differently than I've done this in years past. So, first, I took my page with my life anchors. And if you've been here with us on the podcast for a while, you'll know that at Anchored with Purpose, we have 10 life anchors that help to keep us centered and anchored and focused on what matters most. Now, I'm going to share with you, I kind of went through each one and jotted down some notes on kind of what happened in that area of my life that year. Really, it was things that felt really good in these. So let's walk through some of those. So the first life anchor we've got is faith and spiritual. So some things that I felt went really well for me this year in my faith and spiritual life is I really worked on memorizing scripture. That was something that my coach, she kind of challenged me to do towards the end of 2024. And so I made that a goal for 2025 to work on it. And one of the things I did to help with that, there is an app called Verses that I downloaded. And now I actively work for at least 5 minutes a day on memorizing scripture. I maintained consistent daily time with the Lord. This is something that is so important to me. If you've been here for a while, you know, I start every single day. First thing, I've got a cup of coffee with God, and I maintain that even when I go on vacation. So it's fun kind of looking back through some of my photos from the year and seeing like a picture of my faith journal over the balcony and seeing the ocean in the background, seeing it on the cruise ship, that's kind of thing. So that was cool. I incorporated praise and worship music into my day. This is something that I was never consistent in. And I'll talk about the gym in a little bit. But one of the ways I incorporated with it is I now listen to praise and worship music on my way to and from the gym. And that's first thing in the morning. So that really just helps me start my day on a more elevated level, like I'm connecting even closer to the Lord. I've been consistent in my journaling. I got the opportunity to connect with some of my faith mentors. This was huge, and I'm going to talk about this in another part, but I'm talking like I got to interview some of the people that were so influential in my life, which was just incredible. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. Also, in my faith life, making disciples and evangelizing, I had the opportunity, and I know this is what God tells us to do. This is part of the Great Commission is to go, therefore, and make disciples. So I can look back on different conversations and see where things I've done and said this year have led others to church or back to the church. And that's the epitome of what Jesus is calling us to do. So it's so good. Now, moving on to the health anchor. The first one I wrote down was I got back to the gym 6 days a week. So I had not been going to a gym for years. I actually won Best Transformation, which was just such a blessing. I'm now lifting heavier weights than I've ever lifted before. I'm able to push these big, heavy sleds, which is wild. And my stamina has definitely increased. I have increased my muscle mass too, which just, I know that as we age, and especially as we go through perimenopause, this is so important. And I'm at the gym now 6 days a week. So the last time I can remember getting to the gym 6 days a week, I think Sean was a baby. I mean, and Sean just turned 11. So it's been a long time. So that feels really good. So now looking on into my life review, moving into family, I really tried to have some intentional family time, like just some game nights, doing some one-on-one activities with the boys. I also hosted my nephew's graduation party. He graduated from high school this year. I hosted some family events, like I hosted Thanksgiving for our whole family. We adopted our two sweet little pugs, Duke and Duchess, and let me tell you what a blessing those two have been to our family. They've just brought us so much joy. We've had some family dinners. You may have heard me talk about on here before that family dinners are something that I would love to get to do on a consistent basis with the four of us. Just doesn't always work out that way, but we were able to get some of those not consistently yet, and that's okay. But that's one of the things that we're working on. Raising good boys. I gotta tell you, it makes such a difference when you know how your kids can act when you're at home, right? Sometimes And I've heard it said where they may act out at home because they feel comfortable there and they're holding it together the rest of the day. Well, I got the opportunity. I had a parent teacher conference with Sean's teachers about a month or so ago. And I sat down and the teachers, it was 4 teachers, they were like, "Listen, this is so easy. He's such a good kid. He's wicked smart. He's doing great in school. We have 0 concerns." And I was like, this feels great because we had some rough conferences for him last year. When I talk about struggles here, that was one of the things that we struggled with. He had an ADHD diagnosis. And leading up to that, there were some major concerns. And so I shared, well, these are some struggles we had in last year and in years past. And this is, some of the struggles he had. Are you seeing any of that? They all were shocked and they said, absolutely not. He's doing amazing. So that feels so good. Also, I had dropped Andrew and his best buddy Teddy off at the mall the other day. They wanted to go to the trading card store. And there's this group message with at least 15 moms from our little city where we all kind of keep an eye on each other's kids because it's a safe little city. They all can ride their bikes places and walk places, but we want to make sure they're wearing helmets and being safe. So you never know what's going to come through that message. I saw one come through and the first words were, "I ran into Andrew and Teddy at Trading Card Hub," and my heart stopped for a second. I was like, oh my gosh, what is this message going to say? And it was very sweet. And it said, "They were so sweet and so kind. They helped me pick out a gift for my 7-year-old nephew. And I just want to let you know what good boys they are." And that just made my heart so happy. Just knowing that I'm raising good humans feels amazing. Another part of that I put down as a win for this year is Life Skills Camp. We had Life Skills Camp here over the summer. I think I talked about that a little bit, where they are now helping with more things. They learned how to do their own laundry, chop vegetables, prepare fruit, make certain meals. And that was a huge game changer here too. So they're learning how to be productive citizens. Moving on to relationships. One of the things I really wanted to do this year was get more intentional about having coffee with friends, like just pausing on my day and having some coffee. And so I have a group of friends and we have been able to get together for coffee almost once a month, not quite once a month, but it's just been so nice just taking 45 minutes to go have a cup of coffee before we start work for the day. Date nights with Jeff. Didn't get a ton of these in, but we made it a point to get dressed up and go out for some date nights. What's funny is that date night often includes a nice dinner and then usually like a trip to Lowe's or Target because, we're fancy like that in our 40s. Also with relationships, I made some amazing new friends at the gym. When you get to this age, you don't really think like, oh, I need more friends in my life. But what's really cool is that this whole new community opened up to me at the gym. And now I have this group of women that I work out with every single day, 6 days a week. And we text each other and check in with each other and support each other and encourage each other. And it's just so nice. I didn't even know these ladies before the end of April. And now I see them and work out with them every day. Some of us even went out for a girls' night and went out and had mocktails in Lake George. Like it was just a really nice thing. I was not expecting in 2025 to make a whole big group of new friends, but it was just such an unexpected blessing. I also got to make some connections with some great men and women in my faith too, which is really cool. So through podcasting, and through this business that I'm in, I got to connect with some amazing people this year. Some people that just have strong faith and strong convictions and are making a big impact in the world. And I'm just so grateful that I had the opportunity to meet them, whether it was virtually or in person. It's just been really, really cool. And I also got to make connections with some of my faith mentors. That was exciting. I kind of talked about that a little bit, but I didn't share the names with you. I'm going to share them when I talk about highlights, trust me. So money and finance. This is one where it's funny. You have big ideas for what's going to happen. But some of my wins for this, like My Jeep almost paid off. We pay off all of our vehicles early. The Jeep I had that was paid before that was paid off for years, but the transmission went in that one. So a couple of years ago. So this one almost paid off, which is exciting. My retirement account grew. I had a great conversation with my financial advisor who shared that with me. So that just was a great way to kind of know I was going into the fourth quarter with a strong, strong retirement account. When it comes to career and business, this is one where it's kind of a common theme for me. Work comes out to be a big win. First, I kind of put it in two buckets. So I put it in anchored with purpose, and then I put it in for rebuilt for my day job. So first I put in here coaching clients. I've been coaching some amazing people, which is exciting. I got the opportunity to do some public speaking, and that was great. I was able to create some free resources that helped people, especially the planner, the free 2025 planner for that last quarter. I loved seeing how many of you took advantage of that. I consistently podcasted. Okay, did you know that 90% of podcasts don't make it past episode 11? And then only 1% of podcasts make it past episode 21. This is episode 62, I think. Something like that. We're over a year in, which is very exciting. Even though I wanted to, my visions for this were I'm going to have everything batched and I'm going to have all of mine recorded in 1 week a month. In real life doesn't actually work like that all the time, especially with a, full-time job and a family. But I am just proud of myself that I consistently podcasted. I have not missed a week. I continue to podcast every single week. And this part here makes me just very excited because my life mission is to make a global impact on the Catholic Church, and to see that I have listeners in 30 different countries just shows how good God is. This is what he asked me to do, and he is showing me through these numbers that it's happening, which is just incredible. I've gotten to have multiple guests on the podcast, which has just been such a blessing. Some really incredible people. I've gotten to be a guest on some amazing podcasts that I enjoy listening to. So that's really cool. I completed the 2026 planner, which was a ton of work, but so glad that it's out there so that you can use this and help your dreams and goals come true. My faith journal is now in my local Catholic bookstore to sell, which is awesome. My story was on the Jenna Kutcher Gold Digger podcast, which is one of my favorites. So that's exciting. When it comes to work, this is what's so cool. We're in partnership with YouVersion, which is the Bible app. Love it. Use it every single day. With work, this is where I can see God is just so, so good. Through just our Bible plans that we've got on there, we only started them less than 90 days ago. Over 11,000 lives have been impacted. Over 11,000 people have been reading the plans that we're putting onto the Bible app, which is cool. And just having that relationship with the Bible app is a dream come true. It's incredible. That happened because I had the opportunity to interview their chief of staff at YouVersion. So I got to interview him remotely, but he connected us so that we could be partners with them. But then also, he invited us to the Beyond a Billion event where we got to celebrate over 1 billion downloads of the Bible app. So you'll hear me talk a little bit more about that in highlights. What's incredible is that our plans are in 129 countries. So I look at that and I think, wow, God is so good. He gave me this mission of a global impact on the Catholic Church, and 129 different countries. Our plans are out there, which that is just so cool to me. When it comes to my podcast for work, it's just so fun seeing the metrics there. How many thousands of views we had, how many hundreds of hours of watch time, how many people attended the workshops that we worked so hard on. That's one of the things I do is I host, in addition to hosting the podcast, I host workshops for people to come and attend live over Zoom. And then also we had our conference, and it was just an incredible event where we had over 800 people come in from around the country and some from around the world to come and learn and grow and worship. And it was an incredible experience. And I had the opportunity to speak multiple times at the conference. And You know me, you know that is something that I love, love, love to do. And of course, interviewing some of my mentors was a huge win when it came to work. It was through work that I got to interview some of these incredible mentors. So that was another huge win. Okay. When it comes to the life anchor of personal growth, I'm really excited that I continued my coaching with my life coach. That helps keep me on track and helps get me that encouragement to achieve my big goals. Nothing that I've done would have happened in the time it got done if I were trying to do all of this alone. So that is where having a coach really helps me go further faster. I put down some of the books that I've read. I've read some great books this year that have really helped me with my personal growth, both just growing as a human and then growing in the business world as well. I've also listened to some great podcasts that are helping me. And I've done a lot of networking and I've connected with some great people that just I never would have had access to before. So that was really cool. When it comes to impact, purpose, and legacy, they kind of intertwine with some of the other life anchors here because a lot of what I'm doing with Anchored with Purpose and Rebuilt all will become a part of my impact and a part of my legacy. But one of them is everything we've done with YouVersion for the podcast, my own podcast and Rebuilt podcast, knowing that they're both having a global reach just makes me feel like I am making that impact and helping others with their podcasts. I have so many people who reach out to me and say, Melissa, I love that you're doing a podcast. Can you please show me how to do it? And I always say yes. And I always show them how to do it. And a lot of times I have them as a guest. And then when it's time to edit their episode, I Zoom with them and show them we edit their episode together, which is really cool. And okay, let's move on to fun and recreation. Okay, friend, I have to tell you, this is one where I don't normally have a ton to say, but this is where it really helped going through my planner. And one of the things I will say about the planner that really helped is in the bottom right corner, there is a weekly wins section so that you can write down your wins. So I was able to go through my 2025 planner and flip through every single week and see all of my wins. That really helped me when it came to doing this life evaluation. So let me talk to you about some of my fun and recreation wins for the year. I took a cruise with my friend Julianne. She and I have been accountability partners since 2018. We talk all the time, but we hadn't seen each other since 2022. And we had said, okay, 2025, we're doing it. We're taking a girls' trip. And we did. And it was just so nice to connect in real life. It was awesome. Another one was we went to Myrtle Beach with our little family and then with our close family friends. And it was just, first of all, so nice to get somewhere nice and warm and out of the cold of upstate New York. The boys had a great time. It was so nice because our family friends, like my kids call them like aunt and uncle, and they think that their kids are their cousins. It's really cute. Like, even though I've said multiple times, we're not actually related to them, they always say, oh, we're going to hang out with my cousins, which I just think is adorable that they are that close. But we went to Myrtle Beach with them. We had a great time. I had not seen my husband so relaxed in definitely years. Like, what an amazing time. Just like so relaxed and had such a great time that we extended by one night, which has never, ever happened in the history of the Wilkinsons taking a family vacation. So that's how you know it was good. We took a whole big family vacation. My side of the family, we are now between my parents, the three of us kids, all of our spouses, and all of our kids. We now roll 15 deep. And every year, my family likes to get together and do a trip. We went, it was just in Pennsylvania since my sister just had a new baby. So we went to the kids' little favorite amusement park there. We had a long weekend with everybody and just got to have some nice quality family time, which just is needed sometimes. My brother and sister-in-law and their family came in to visit for 4th of July weekend, which is one of our favorite traditions. We had a lot of pool time. We really enjoyed a lot of our local events. We've got like Balloon Fest, which is one of our favorites. We tried to make it a point to get to some of those and just to get together with our friends at some of these too. We hosted some fun events here. So we've got some fun traditions around like back to school and Halloween. And of course, we host people at the pool all summer. And I just love hosting. So that was a lot of fun for us. I did some baking for fun too, which I really enjoy it. I especially love baking sourdough bread. So I got to take some time to do that. One of the things that I'm really proud of when it comes to fun and recreation is that we made it to Lake George multiple times. Now, we live super close to Lake George. Our favorite part, like seriously, like I can be at the south side of Lake George in 10 minutes from my house. Huge tourist destination if you're not from this area. Like we have, I mean, so many people every summer come to this area to go to Lake George. Last year, we didn't go one time. Like we didn't even go, which is silly because we live so close. So this summer, we made it there. I was there at least a handful of times. Our favorite part is this little tiny town called Bolton Landing. It's just nice and quiet and quaint and cute. And this year, we even took my parents when they came into town one weekend and took them up to the Sagamore, which is a historic hotel. And honestly, it kind of felt like we were on vacation, but right here at home. So that was just really nice. And I'm so glad we took the time to go do that. It doesn't take long to get there. And we live in an area where people like to vacation. So we need to take more advantage of it. So I'm so glad that we did. And then when it came to home, this could kind of be home or family, really did some baking with the boys. That's like one of the ways we've connected since they were little. They don't want to do it as much, but we still have gotten some baking in, which is good. We did our new kitchen refresh, which guys, if you haven't seen the pictures, they're on my Instagram. What a difference. And it was not like I say it made a huge difference. It was not a huge renovation. We just painted and replaced hardware. And by just, I mean, it was a lot of paint, a lot of primer, a lot of prep work that went into it all. The whole thing took us about a month to do, but it was a very inexpensive refresh that made a world of a difference. Now the kitchen looks so much more like us, and it's just lighter and brighter, and it makes me happy to walk in there. Which that is just so good. Whew, I feel like I just went through a lot, but there's even more. There's even more. So the next part of this year in review and life review, this is where we're going over the highlights, the goals met, the biggest accomplishments, what worked, what didn't work, struggles, lessons learned, places visited, and anything else of note. So this is the one that I had done back at the end of 2022 going into 2023, where like literally there was like one goal met there and like no highlights. Like I did one for personal life and I did one for work. Work was completely full. Home was not. Like my personal life was not. So it's really nice to see that this one is more balanced out and that I have a lot of wins. Now, this is just one for everything. Now, at the top, I have a spot for word of the year. This year's word of the year was impact. So as I did my year in review for myself with both the life anchors and this question, it was really great thinking about my word and how it, kind of how reflected on the year that I've had. So we'll talk about that. Okay. So let's start with highlights. I've shared a little bit already about how I got to interview on the Rebuilt podcast some of my spiritual mentors, people who their books have influenced me, their podcasts have influenced me, things they've shared have influenced me. So I'm going to share with you some of those names because honestly, like I was fangirling thinking about just the opportunity that I had. And I look back and I still think, oh my gosh, is that real? But I got to interview Lisa Brennickmeyer. She is the founder of Walking with Purpose, which is an incredible women's Bible study that I first joined in 2017 and has been instrumental in my faith growth. You guys, I got to interview Rick Warren. I got to have like an hour and a half meeting with him. And then I got to interview him, the longest podcast interview of my entire life, but it was also probably one of the greatest. Rick Warren wrote The Purpose Driven Life. And if you haven't read it yet, friend, pause, go to Amazon, order this book. This is the book that changed everything for me. It is one where after I read his book, which by the way, read that in 2017, Here's a fun fact. I did a lot of things came full circle for me this year, which is why I love sharing this part in the highlights. So I read The Purpose Driven Life in 2017. My word of the year was change. I really thought that was going to be a change of location for us, like that we were going to be moving closer to home where I grew up, but really it was an internal change and a change in my faith. So after reading The Purpose Driven Life, I felt so on fire for my faith that I almost left the Catholic Church. And until I read a part where Rick Warren said, if you're unhappy with your church, don't change your church. Like, don't change churches, change your church. And that just shifted everything for me. I joined a Bible study, Walking with Purpose, in 2017. I joined my pastoral council in 2017 after reading this book, which, by the way, my first meeting there, they handed me the book Rebuilt. So now I'm sitting here doing these podcast interviews with Rick Warren and Tom Corcoran, who wrote Rebuilt. Oh, Rick Warren's book changed everything for me. Rebuilt changed the way I looked at church life and how I could impact it. And then I got to sit with Tom and Lisa, interviewing Lisa. And I'm just like thinking, wow, God, you are so good. What full circle moments these have been for me. Just incredible. I also these are highlights because these are people, again, who have been so influential to me. I got to interview Dr. Mary Healy, who she was one of the editors of my favorite Bible, the Great Adventure Catholic Bible, and has written so many incredible books. I got to interview Jeff Cavins, he is the guy who put together the Great Adventure Catholic Bible. He is the one who made the Great Adventure Bible timeline. He helped me understand the Bible in a way that I never have him before. He broke it open for me. I was able to understand it. And so that was another full circle moment. Oh my gosh, I'm getting to talk to him. I'm getting to ask him any question I want. And this is the guy who helped me understand the Bible. Just incredible. I also got to interview Father Dave Dwyer from Busted Halo, which that was just really fun because I had listened to his podcast and he's a priest that is just so real and so fun. I loved that opportunity. Another highlight for me was the YouVersion Beyond a Billion event. This event was absolutely incredible. I feel like I should do a whole episode on it. But when I say we got to go to a creator summit where we got to learn from YouVersion, we got to then go to this big event with over 8,000 people in this arena. The worship music was incredible. And it was by the artists. So we had Phil Wickham in there singing, Lauren Daigle in there singing. I think I spent half of it in tears. It was so moving. And then the next day I got to go to the YouVersion office and get to tour and meet people. And it was just an incredible event. Another highlight for me was that Myrtle Beach trip with our family, because it was such a high point for us. Going on that cruise with Julianne, doing our family trip to Pennsylvania was a huge highlight for me. The Rebuilt Conference for me was a huge highlight. Getting to be with over 800 people that are trying to make disciples in their own parishes was awesome. And then overall, just getting to speak on multiple stages across the country. I got to go as far as Houston to talk, which was just awesome. Now we're going to move on to goals met. Now I set a lot of goals, but these are ones that I met this year. So some of my goals, I don't always meet them, and that's okay. One of the goals I set was to get the planner done and launched, and I did that. That felt so good. Making a global impact on the Catholic Church, that it will never be a done goal, but looking at the metrics, I got to see that, yes, that's happening. So that made me so excited. I wanted to grow my podcast, and I did that. I achieved what I wanted to do. I wanted to increase my listeners. I wanted to increase my downloads. I wanted to increase and get new people being interviewed on the podcast. And I did that, and that felt so good. And then this is an interesting one. I love how God has a way of taking the desires on our hearts and kind of shifting them. So I had on my vision board and in my goals for growing my own podcast that I wanted to interview my mentors. And I had some business mentors in mind for this. Jenna Kutcher, Oprah, Jasmine Starr, all of these, Amy Porterfield, all of these business mentors of mine. And God was like, oh, you're funny, Melissa. We're not going to interview them this year. You're not there yet, but you are going to interview all of these spiritual mentors of yours. And that, I just love when God surprises me and makes it what he wants it to be. Okay. So now let's moving on to biggest accomplishments. Overall podcasting, both this one and my Rebuilt podcast, the connection with YouVersion because so much good is happening there. I've got some fun news I'm going to share with you in January about that. Getting our kitchen done, that was big because Jeff and I did that ourselves with no help. And then overall, the impact I'm making with my job. When I look at what worked, utilizing my planner really was helpful. And seeing how it worked for other women too was a huge win. Consistent workouts, getting to the gym every single day at 5 a.m. during the school year and 6 a.m. over the summer, and consistent podcasting. Those worked for me this year. What didn't work? Gosh, sometimes it's hard to share our failures, right? But I'm going to share some of these with you. So first, group coaching program. I had these big plans to launch a group coaching program in the spring, like right after I got certified. And guess what? It didn't happen. And that's okay. It's all right if it wasn't the right time. I knew, God would take care of us no matter what. So it didn't work. I ended up doing some one-on-one coaching, which is not at all what I expected to do, but it was a huge blessing. Also, what didn't work? Inconsistent eating habits. I'm working on it, guys. I am a work in progress, but sometimes I'll be really good. And then sometimes the inconsistent habits catch up with me. And then also getting up so early makes me go to bed early, and going to bed super early makes family time difficult. So that's going to help me when it comes to setting my goals for the new year, is kind of being more intentional about some of that family time. Okay. What were some of our struggles in 2025? Well, our pug that we had for 13 and a half years, Frank, we got him when I was pregnant with Andrew. We got him as a teeny tiny puppy. He passed away the day before Easter. He started having seizures the day we were coming home from Myrtle Beach. It was actually a really sad ending to a super happy time. So that was really hard losing him. We're having furnace issues. That's been a struggle when it's super cold in upstate New York. So we have to get a new furnace. That's been kind of a deal. Sean's ADHD diagnosis and kind of everything that led up to that. The good news is it's all under control now, which is great, all without medication too, which is awesome. And then that all was a struggle. It was really hard. Some really difficult things led to that diagnosis. But hearing now how he's doing just makes my heart so happy we got through that. Another thing is, my husband works for the federal government. It's been a really, really tough year to be an employee in the federal government. His job has been up in the air since February. So that has made it very, very tough to make plans, and just kind of know it's been a whirlwind ups and downs with that. So that's really forced us to put a lot of trust in the Lord, which has been a good thing for us overall. But yeah, we still don't know what's happening there. And then I have a lot of my friends, which is such a sad thing, but I feel like so many of my friends have lost their fathers this year, just all around the same time. And my heart just goes out to them. And I think about like the mortality of my own parents, and thank God they're both still alive. They're both healthy, but that was just hard seeing them walk through those struggles. Okay. So what were my lessons learned this year? First, I can do hard things, and my 6 days a week at the gym have shown me that. I'm doing things I never thought I could do. I'm doing things with my body I never thought I could do. I can do 8 pull-ups now. I know 8 is not a lot, but 8 pull-ups to me is a really lot. And lifting heavy, all of that just feels so good that I can do it. Another lesson was give myself grace. And that is where I am like my own worst critic. And I know you probably are too, but I have learned that I have to give myself grace and not be so hard on myself, because that's when my stress just starts to get out of control. And then I've also learned that I have to rest. Here's what happens when I don't rest. I get sick every single time. And it's always at an inconvenient time. It's at a time when my body finally is resting. Like, I don't know about you, but I will grind until I can't anymore. And my body is like, oh, it's Christmas break. Amazing. You're going to be sick the whole time because you actually have to rest. Same thing happens to me on vacations. Like, it happens all of the time. So I am learning I have to incorporate more rest and more planned rest, which I'm working on. Okay, another box on here that I love is places visited. The first time I did this life evaluation back in 2022, when it changed everything, I was frustrated because I hadn't visited anywhere new that year. It's all places that we typically had gone to in the past. And so I pushed myself, like I wanted to be able to at least go somewhere different every year. What's cool places visited? So a cruise to the Bahamas. Now, we had been to the Bahamas before. But what was fun is Julianne and I have this favorite tiny little island that we had the opportunity to go to in 2018. It's called Pearl Island. So we made a reservation to be able to go there. Not somewhere we hadn't been before, but somewhere that we love and haven't been in a while. Got to go to Myrtle Beach, not new, but somewhere that it was brand new for the kids and somewhere I hadn't been in like 20 years. We went to our favorite amusement park in Pennsylvania. We stayed somewhere we hadn't stayed before, which was great. I made my way to Baltimore for work multiple times. I went to York home. And I got to go to Houston for a speaking engagement for work, which was really cool. And then Oklahoma City. And that's where the YouVersion Beyond the Billion event was. And then anything else of note? Honestly, I just wrote here, it was a great year. And to wrap it up that way, after that one that I did a couple of years ago, it just feels so good to do that, knowing that I had started, back in end of 2022, going into 2023, just over 3 years ago, feeling this like emptiness. And I had started feeling this fire in my belly, like I was supposed to be doing more and, making this impact because that's what I was hearing. And now going back and reflecting, it just feels so good that when you take steps, when you do these things, it really does make a difference. So, friend, I'm encouraging you to do this too. I'm going to give you everything you need, and it's going to be in the show notes. So, just take a look in the show notes. You just have to click. You can put in your email address. Make sure to check your email or hit the download button. Here's what else you're going to need besides those sheets. Grab your planner. If you used the Anchored with Purpose planner, you've got that little spot for wins, but you can also take a look at your calendar to remind you of where you went and kind of what you were doing. Look at your journal if you want. I'll admit, I did not look at my journals yet. I struggled to do that. I don't know what the block is there, but if you want to look at your journals, you can. Look back at your photos from the past year. I did that and just smiled looking back just to kind of help prompt me and remind me of anything I wanted to write. That was helpful. And then if you had one, your word of the year. So making sure to have that so you can write it down. And you're going to ask yourself those questions. You're going to walk yourself through all of the life anchors. Again, those are in there. All of the reflection questions, like what were the highlights? What goals did I meet? All of those are in there too. And I want you to just be aware. And it's okay if it's not, if things aren't where you want them to be. That's going to help motivate you. This now, seeing what you've accomplished is really going to help you when it comes time to picking out your word of the year and setting your goals for the next year. So don't forget, download that free life evaluation in the show notes. Take some time. It's okay if it's just at your desk and not at a coffee shop, but also here's my permission. Go treat yourself to a little latte or go get a cozy blanket and a cup of hot tea and take these things and start writing them down so that you can reflect on your year. So listen, friend, you've got this. We're almost to the end of the year. And if you're listening to this after the end of the year, it's never too late to do this. So friend, you've got this. I'm proud of you. I believe in you. I will see you next time. Stay anchored with purpose.